Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is me Mohammed Asnan and welcome back to another video. So in our today's video, we're going to talk about metals and non-metals, and this is the episode number 3 of chemistry series. This is the episode which is very important as it contains the base concepts which we need for the further episodes about bonding. So without wasting any time, let's start by a quick introduction of our today's topic. So as we know that elements exist either as metals or non-metals. Metals are on the left side and non-metals are on the right side of the periodic table. Metalloids, they have the properties of both metals and non-metals, and they're in middle of metals and non-metals. Metals and non-metals can combine together to form ionic compounds, which we will discuss later, and then two non-metals can bond together to form covalent compounds. Now let's move on to ions and the octet rule. What are ions? So we know that an atom is neutral. It has the same number of protons and electrons. But an ion is formed when an atom loses or gains electrons, and then the number of electrons either becomes more or less than the number of protons. As we know about the octet rule, that atoms have to complete their octet, means their valence shell, while bonding. So atoms lose or gain electrons to form ions in order so that they can complete their octet. Now, metals can be either positive or negative ions. Metals have the tendency to lose electrons, and when they lose electrons, the number of protons will be more. So the atom will now become positively charged, and metal ions, positively charged metal ions, are known as cations. Whereas on the other hand, non-metals gain electrons, means they gain electrons and become negatively charged as the number of electrons is more than the number of protons, and when they form negatively charged ions, non-metals, they are known as anions. Now let's move on to valencies, which is very important. So what is valency? Valency is the bonding capacity of an element to lose or gain electrons. During bonding, how much electrons can an element lose or gain? As you can see in this image, the groups are labeled with charges. Let's understand this through a simple table. As you can see in this table, there are group numbers, then the valency of each group and charge. So as I told you, valency is the capacity. How much electrons can an element lose or gain? So the group 1 elements have the valency of 1. This means that they need to lose 1 electron in order to complete their octet shell. As I told you, metals lose electrons and group 1 elements are metals. So they will lose electrons with valency 1 electron to complete their octet, and then as 1 electron will be lost, the protons will be more and the charge will be of +1 as it is positively charged now. Then group 2 elements also have a valency of 2. This means they can lose 2 electrons to complete their octet, and then they will have the charge of +2 as 2 electrons are lost and the protons are more. Then group 3 is also metals, so they will also lose electrons. They will lose 3 electrons. They have the tendency to lose 3 electrons, so their valency is also 3, and then after the electrons are lost, the charge will be +3 as there are 3 more protons than the electrons. Then group 5, 6 and 7 are non-metals, so they will gain more electrons. So their valency will be 3 for group 5 and the charge will be -3 because after 3 electrons are gained, there are 3 more electrons than the protons, so the atom is negatively charged with the charge of -3. Similarly, group 6 and 7 will gain 2 and 1 electrons and their charges will be -2 and -1. As I told you, group 1, 2 and 3, except for boron, which is a metalloid, are metals, so they will lose electrons, and group 5, 6 and 7 will gain electrons as they are non-metals. So in short, that metals from group 1, 2 and 3 will lose electrons in order to become cations while bonding and from their valence shell, so that their octet can be complete. And group 5, 6 and 7, which are non-metals, they will gain electrons either 3, 2 or 1 to complete their octet. And noble gases, which are group 8, as their octet is full, they do not need to lose or gain any electrons. Now let's move on to metallic properties, means the properties a metal has. So firstly, metals are shiny when they're polished or when they're freshly cut. Secondly, metals are malleable. Malleable means that metals can be hammered into different shapes. Next property of a metal is that metals are ductile. They can be drawn into shape of wires. A good example of this is copper. Metals are also good conductors of heat and electricity, and metals can form ionic compounds, and metals lose electrons to form cations. Now let's move on to non-metallic properties. Non-metals have low melting and boiling points except carbon and silicon, which have high melting and boiling points. Secondly, non-metals are brittle when they are solids. This means they can shatter into pieces when they are solid. Non-metals are not shiny and they do not usually conduct electricity. However, there is an exception of graphite, which is an allotrope of carbon. It can conduct electricity. And non-metals are also poor conductors of heat, except for diamond, which is the best conductor of heat among all elements. And non-metals can form both ionic and covalent compounds, and they have the tendency to form anions while bonding, as I told you. Now let's move on to common examples of metals and non-metals with their uses. So firstly, steel, which is a metal. It is used in construction, manufacturing and engineering as it is very strong and durable. Then is aluminium, which is a metal which is lightweight but very strong, and it is good for aircrafts and aeroplanes and also kitchen foil. Then comes copper. Copper is a great conductor of electricity and it is widely used in wiring, as I told you, in making wires. Lead is another metal which is used in batteries and radiation shielding as well. Titanium is a strong metal and also lightweight, and it is used in medical implants and aerospace. Graphite is another metal which is used in nuclear reactors as a non-metal. Now examples of non-metals. So firstly, the very common example, oxygen, which is a gas. It is essential for respiration. It is used in medical treatments and as a component of rocket fuel. Carbon is the backbone of organic chemistry and it is used in plastics, fuels and electronics. Nitrogen is very important for plant growth. It is used in fertilizers, explosive, and it is a protective gas in food packaging. Hydrogen is used in hydrogen fuel cells for clean energy and as a reducing agent in industrial processes. Chlorine is a powerful disinfectant which is used in water treatments and also bleaching agents. Sulfur is found in many things like rubber, fertilizers and matches, and it contributes a lot to industrial processes as well. Phosphorus is very essential for DNA, bones and our teeth, and it is also used in fertilizers and flame retardants. Now let's move on to the key summary of our today's video. We know that metals lose electrons and form cations. Non-metals gain electrons and form anions. Different groups have different valencies. Valencies means the capacity to lose or gain electrons and complete the valence shell while bonding. Metals are shiny, malleable, ductile and thermally and electrically conductive. Whereas non-metals have low melting and boiling points. They are not shiny, they are brittle when they are solid, and they do not conduct electricity or heat usually. And this was all about our today's video. I hope so that you find this video fun and factual. If you did so, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe my channel so that you can get the next episodes and more interesting videos. And don't forget to share this video with your family and friends. And don't forget to follow out this series throughout, as it will help you. Thanks for watching.